The radical left's agendas are challenging American values. But conservatives like you haven't forgotten what this country was built on. My friends, the Heritage Foundation exists to make sure your voice is heard and to represent your values in the D.C. swamp. The Heritage Foundation stands for your values and won't give up the fight because they know you never will. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. First of all, happy birthday to my wife, Julie. Fantastic lady, really. And I thank her for everything she does in support of yours truly. Very lucky. And then I want to thank all of you. We learned about, 45 minutes ago that On Power is #1 nonfiction on the New York Times bestseller list. That's always thanks to you. I'm sure they're always grinding their teeth over there. But that, again, is thanks to you. I think those of you who pre-ordered the book, those of you who are acquiring the book now, you're really desirous of helping to save the country and promote ideas and pass them on to your kids and other people. It's just so important that you're the kind of citizens you are, the kind of patriots that you are. None of this would be possible. It really takes a team effort. It really does. All of us together. All of us together. Will I still have access to a microphone? I think these national town hall meetings are crucially important. Crucially. And I want to thank you all who have embraced the book and the substance in the book, and I know it'll be very, very useful to you, to all of us. To all of us. And that's the goal. It's the goal when I sit down and write something. It's the goal when we communicate with each other and communicate with others. Crucially important. The individuals, 5 of whom were shot at Fort Stewart, Georgia, several hours ago, and their families, we wish them all the best. We really don't know a whole lot about this, the suspect, but more importantly, the victims. So our hearts go out to them and their family. You know, you're on a military base. It's a very big military base. A lot of people know each other and so forth, and your mission is the same. Your oath is the same. You have your family members with you, people sacrificing, and you don't expect this to happen. So we want to wish all those families all the best. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've spent a lot of time talking about gerrymandering. Gerrymandering goes back to the early 1800s. It's named after Governor Gerry in Massachusetts. The Democrats have been much more successful and vicious in gerrymandering than Republicans. Massachusetts doesn't have a single Republican representative in the House of Representatives, not one. Something truly wrong with that. Maryland has 8 representatives, 1 Republican representative. Something is truly wrong with that. Illinois has 17 representatives, 3 of whom are Republicans. Everybody points to their map, how preposterous it is. And there's the governor, a bloated, stupid-looking man who inherited a fortune, bought his way into power, signed the most outrageous gerrymandering in the whole country, and that says something. That's where the Democrats from Texas escape to complain about gerrymandering. And he cheers them on. They think you're stupid. They think you don't know. California, 52 congressional seats. 43 are Democrat. Outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. In New York, 19 Democrats, 7 Republican. Now, in none of these states, as blue as they are they so blue as to have no Republican representatives or so few Republican representatives? So they've gerrymandered these blue states, the Democrats. Maybe they can squeeze a few more Republicans out. Maybe not. And then, of course, they started with a base that was totally bastardized by the Census Bureau, as we talked about last night. They made mathematical errors, don't you know, as Hans von Spakovsky pointed out in his great piece a few years back at the Heritage Foundation, that it was outrageous. It cost the Republicans about 5 seats. But to hear these Democrats, to hear what they're saying, is so over the top, so outrageous. You wonder why people, seriously, people are violent, even take up arms in politics today? Just listen to the language. Listen to this language. You have a state representative from Texas, Jolanda Jones, on the Don Lemon show today. Now, which means nobody heard it. Don Lemon is a moron. That's why he's no longer even on cable TV. I don't even think he's even on airport radar. He's on nobody's radar. But I want you to listen to this nut job. And, of course, Don Lemon doesn't push back. Listen to this nut job. Cut 1, go.
And then integration happened and everybody thought they accept us. They don't accept us. They are showing us who they are. We should believe them. And we better have the courage to stand up. Otherwise, we will fall for anything. And in this country, we will be defeated, deported. I mean, we will lose all of our rights.
What is she talking about? So black people will be defeated, deported, and lose all their rights because of gerrymandering? So it's race, when it has absolutely nothing to do with race. Zero. Go ahead.
It can't happen. It can. And I will liken this to the Holocaust. People are like, well, how did the Holocaust happen? How was somebody in a position to kill all them people? Well, good people remain silent.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, I get so sick of these damnable politicians who sit there and these words just trickle off their lips this way. They keep talking about the Holocaust and Hitler. The Holocaust and Hitler. They compare it to gerrymandering. I mean, folks, they don't support Israel, these leftists. They support the enemy. And yet they keep talking about the Holocaust in Israel. They don't mean it. Look how fast she says it. Doesn't even slow down. What happened in the Holocaust? Go ahead.
Or good people didn't realize that what happens to them...
By the way, let me say this to our friend Megyn Kelly. I don't know what you're thinking these days. I don't know what you're saying these days. I just see these little clips. Has somebody said Israel is never wrong or you're not allowed to criticize Israel? Does she read the newspaper? Does she watch TV? Does she listen to the radio? Does she listen to her friends Tucker and Bannon and the rest of them. What do you mean you're not allowed to criticize Israel? Israel's criticized all the time. Israel's criticized by Israelis all the time. That's not the issue. America's criticized all the time. America's criticized by Americans all the time. That's not the issue either. We're not talking about criticizing Israel. We're talking about questioning the very existence of the state of Israel and the survivability of its people. That's what people like me are speaking out against, not criticisms against Israel. I mean, how ridiculous. And these people who talk like this, give platforms to people who aren't just criticizing Israel. They're attacking its very existence. Now, I'll be the truth teller around here. I'm going to keep an eye on this. I've about had it up to here. They don't talk about any other country on the face of the earth this way. None. None. Why is that? Anyway, let's go on. Not with her. Let's go to Elisa Slotnick, Democrat, Michigan. This woman ran as a moderate Democrat. She's no moderate Democrat. She voted against any support for Israel whatsoever. In other words, voted against the existence of Israel. Because, of course, Israel is facing enemies that are very well armed, that have all kinds of weaponry, and, of course, are terrorists. That's the bottom line. That's the point. That's the point. But listen to her. And this is a self-hating Jew, this Slotkin. She's decided that's what it takes to be a Democrat. It's like listening to this guy Shapiro, the governor there, and the things that he's saying. To be a Democrat, you really have to come out and hate Israel. You understand, Megan? It's not about criticizing Israel. It's about detesting Israel. Go ahead.
I'm going to urge and encourage blue states like a California or a Chicago or a Illinois, to do the same thing. I don't want to do that.
Illinois already did the same thing, moron. And California did the same thing a long time ago, moron. In fact, California changed its voting system to this ranked voting system like New York City did to ensure, as best as they can, that only Democrats will get elected in many of these districts. Go ahead.
I want the country to have a completely nonpartisan drawing of the lines based on...
There will never be a completely nonpartisan drawing of the lines. Perhaps you've never heard of the Constitution of the United States that leaves this to the states. Then I hear, well, let's leave it to experts. We leave nothing to experts. They're the worst. The worst. You see where these impartial, objective judges have brought us that the Democrats appoint? Radical left-wingers for life? You see that? No, I don't think so. Go ahead.
But if they're going to do that and go nuclear, so am I.
Oh, aren't you a sweetheart? Aren't you clever? If they're going to do it, so am I. You already did it, buffoon. And they picked the two states, two of which are the worst, California and Illinois. Then you got this guy Pritzker, who signed the law in 2021 to turn the congressional districts like a pretzel in the state of Illinois. So it's 14-3, which is outrageous in that state. And there he is on Cobert's show, of all places, of course. And this is why Cobert is about to be gone. Because he's monotonous. Anyway, go ahead. Cut 3.
I think he literally called them or wrote them and said, hey, I need 5 seats. Go redraw this.
And the
no,
way
he didn't write them and say, I need 5 seats. And there he's talking to Pritzker. Go ahead.
it is taking voting rights away from black and brown people. They're literally obliterating districts.
Oh, yes, the whole thing is racist because we all know Republicans are racist and Democrats are not, right? Isn't that it? You know, a lot of the fighting that goes over gerrymandering seats in blue states is Democrat versus Democrat, white Democrat versus black or Hispanic Democrat. And these white left-wing Democrats, much like Pritzker, they don't like to lose their power. They don't like to lose their seats. Now, Pritzker has really done nothing. He inherited billions. Billions. And he signed one of the most outrageous gerrymander laws, according to the experts, who are nonpartisan, of course, in the country. Go ahead.
The Voting Rights Act. So this is going to end up in court if they actually are able to do it. But the Texas House Democrats are trying to stop them from doing it, and they're in Illinois to protect all of the people of the country.
Oh, that's it. That's why they're in Illinois, to protect the whole country. Because we know that's what Democrats do. They protect the whole... Just listen to the language of these people. Let's take a little break from the insane. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
In the last few weeks, some ICE agents have been ambushed, doxxed, received death threats. All this is on top of dealing with pushback from liberals in sanctuary cities. These ICE agents deserve a lot better. Americans like you across the country support the work they're doing, but they need to hear your voice. The Heritage Foundation has created a survey to gauge America's support of ICE agents, and they need your participation. So please go to heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/LEVIN to give your opinion on ICE's border enforcement and deportation efforts. ICE agents need to hear the message that Americans like you have their backs while they face daily challenges from the liberal media. Patriots like you need to stand with ICE now more than ever. 5 minutes is all it takes, folks. Please complete the survey today at heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/LEVIN to make your voice heard. That's heritage.org/Levin, paid for by the Heritage Foundation. We have a short segment here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, after the bottom of the hour, I want to read something to you that I think is very, very important. Very important. It's a criticism of the state of Israel. And I think it's something you should hear. Because these people who say you're not allowed to criticize Israel without being called an anti-Semite are liars. If you use your platform to bring on Holocaust deniers, if you use your platform to make excuses for Hitler while you're trashing Churchill, if you use your platform to try and undermine support for the state of Israel as it fights for its survival against a Iranian regime, an Islamic regime that wants to kill us, our president, and get at nuclear weapons, don't tell us, oh, you're not allowed to criticize Israel. We know who you are and we know what you are. You got that? We're not stupid. We criticize the United States. Hell, in your own family, you criticize each other. It's the way you criticize and what you're criticizing people for. Now, these phony influencers that are so narcissistic, they give themselves the name influencers. And they influence nobody. They mostly talk to each other. They are liars, and they're deceivers, and they twist things. They need hits. They need eyes. They need clicks. What they need is intelligence. I want to read something to you when we return. Stick with me. I'll be right back. The ICE protests in Los Angeles were just one example of the hatred many ICE agents are dealing with every day. As they work to enforce our nation's laws and keep our country safe, some have been ambushed, received death threats, and have been berated by the mainstream media. Now, if you support ICE, the Heritage Foundation needs your help today. Please go to heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/LEVIN right now. Fill out their survey. Heritage needs as many people as possible to participate. So if you support ICE agents, now's the time to let them know. These brave agents put their lives on the line every single day to protect our nation and to fulfill President Trump's electoral mandate. What is it? To secure the borders and deport illegal aliens who have brazenly broken our laws. Voice your opinion at heritage.org/Levin today. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Takes less than 5 minutes. Heritage.org/Levin, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Mark Levin, the great one.
The great one, Mark Levin.
Dial in now, 877-381-3811.
I want to demonstrate to you, my beloved audience, who is smart and discerning. I want to demonstrate to you that these people who say, we're just questioning Israel. We're not allowed to criticize them. We'll be called anti-Semites if we do. They're liars. They're not just questioning Israel. They oppose Israel, even as it fights for its own survival. They opposed our support for Israel. They opposed any action taken against Iran and their nuclear weapons. They've been wrong about everything. They've been wrong about everything, just like the leftists, the Marxists, the Islamists. They've been wrong about everything. Now, you made my book number one, and I want to read from it. I want you to listen to this. It starts at page 28. Today, the Democrat Party's designs on the independence of the Supreme Court, including increasing its numbers to install additional hand-picked ideologues who share its revulsion of constitutional constraints and limitations, a.k.a. activist judges and justices, is just one of many examples, albeit the gravest in this moment, of what I will call the deconstitutionalization of America. Inasmuch as the law is about the distribution and application of power, fundamentally the Constitution constrains the power of the power-hungry and therefore is its target. Well, Mark, what does this have to do with anything? Stick with me. Israel is a prime example of a judicial tyranny, a nation that is run by a relative handful of lawyers sitting as Supreme Court justices. The cancer of judicial tyranny has metastasized to the point where its government can no longer be legitimately or accurately described as a parliamentary democracy. Israel was established without a constitution or like system. This is the crack through which its Supreme Court seized for itself the power to essentially make the nation's laws and supplant the elected governmental branches. Separation of powers there is a fiction. The court is a power unto itself with literally no bounds. It always has a say, if it chooses, on matters wholly legislative or executive, and its say is final. In essence, Israel's highest court sits as an oligarchy, or perhaps more accurately, an ideological politburo, high above all governmental and societal institutions, where it even selects many of its own members and whatever issues it wishes to adjudicate. Want to hear more? As legal scholar and retired federal appellate judge Richard Posner has written, among the rules of law that Israel's Supreme Court has created are that judges cannot be removed by the legislature, but only by other judges, that any citizen can ask a court to block illegal action by a government official, even if the citizen is not personally affected by it or lacks standing to sue in the American sense, that any government action that is unreasonable is illegal. Put simply, the executive must act reasonably, so, quote unquote, for unreasonable act is an unlawful act, that a court can forbid the government, and it goes on and on. And I point out Israel can more accurately be described as a judicial oligarchy rather than a healthy, functioning democracy. Incredibly, reform efforts by Israel's elected parliament, the Knesset, to modestly rein in the judiciary has been overruled by the Supreme Court itself. Hence, there are no effective means for the public, through its elected representatives, to lawfully change the course of their government. And apparently, at least for a riotous minority of the citizenry on the political left, and for whom the Supreme Court delivers policy results, the tyranny of the judiciary is the means that justifies the ends. Now, Mr. Producer, does that sound like a criticism? They have a judicial oligarchy in Israel that gets stronger and stronger and stronger, undermining its parliament, its Knesset, undermining its elected government, the Netanyahu government. There is a huge divide in that country over this issue. And there's a lot to criticize. That is different from bringing on anti-Semites and Jew haters, from bringing on Holocaust deniers, from going in political bed with them, if you will, and then to tell us you can't criticize Israel. Screw you. You certainly can. Just as you can criticize our own country, and the Democrats in our country, and the judiciary in our country. That's not what we're talking about. Not in the least. No person is above criticism. No government is above criticism. No state is above criticism. If you're going to hang out with anti-Semites, if you're going to platform anti-Semites, don't tell me and my millions of people in my audience and the tens of millions of people in this country that you just want to ask questions. And then when you ask questions, you're an anti-Semite. Nobody has said that. Nobody. But if you're a Jew hater and you are an anti-Semite, or you don't believe in the survivability of Israel, you're not asking questions, you're taking a position. And you can defend it. It's perfectly fine. That will be your legacy. That'll be on your epithet. There's plenty of video and plenty of audio. Do it. Do it. Stay out of the closet. Don't go back in. We know who you are, all of you. It's okay. It's okay that you reveal yourselves. Better than hide and then pretend otherwise. You should feel free to criticize whomever you want. I do. And I do it a lot. Nobody's talking about that. Nobody. Nobody. There's my book. Now #1 New York Times bestseller. Where I'm attacking the negative power of concentrated power. The United States judiciary, the Israeli judiciary, even worse than the United States judiciary. The Israeli media, horrendous. The Israeli left, contemptible. That's different than saying we shouldn't support an ally in the middle of its effort to survive, which is also our effort to survive when it comes to Iran. I've made the same point to you many times when it comes to President Trump. These very same people, the very same people who want to be seen in Mar-a-Lago, who want to be seen at rallies with President Trump when he was running, who want to be seen at UFC events with President Trump, who want to be seen at the State of the Union, who want to be seen during the inauguration, stabbing him in the back. Not because of some earnest disagreement, respectfully delivered, but throwing down their supposed gauntlet that he's abandoned MAGA, the man who created it. He's abandoned it. That they are more pure than he is. No, they're not. They're nuts. They're crazy asses. They don't represent anybody. Nothing. They seem to think if they get a certain number of subscriptions, a certain number of clicks and hits, that they're God's gift. And this will eventually be their downfall. This will eventually be their downfall. They actually start to believe they're bullcrap. Now, from time to time, I will have to do this, and I will continue to do this for the sake of audiences all over the world. Conservative audiences were built first and foremost by conservative talk radio, by some very, very great people who began this business, who get no attention whatsoever, especially from the phony influencers. But the great Rush Limbaugh, first and foremost. And here's the funny thing. One of my closest best friends, he loved the state of Israel. He loved Netanyahu. They were very, very close friends. Very close friends. He would be standing with me. He would be standing with you. He would be standing with the President of the United States. He would be standing with the Prime Minister. He would be mocking these fools for what they are. Mocking them. I mean, we have real enemies to fight, ladies and gentlemen. Real enemies. We have the Marxists and the Islamists who have joined forces. They're in our midst. They are the enemy within. They now control the Democrat Party, which wants to control you and your life and your business and your workplace. We have real challenges ahead. Big time. If they take the House of Representatives during the midterms, you and I, we will fight them. Of course, politically, but we will fight them. These people will not. They will continue the backstabbing. That's what they'll do. Very important to understand the difference between criticism and sabotage. The difference between criticism and sabotage. Criticism is great, but sabotaging the president, sabotaging your own country, sabotaging the state of Israel, nah, not so great. And this Holocaust denying crap, save it for the Klan, the neo-Nazis, the Marxists, and the Islamists. That's not MAGA. It never has been. It never has been, and it never will be. I listened to this Jasmine Crockett, ABC News yesterday. She's so insane. She's such a lunatic that the news networks can't get enough of her, can't promote her enough. Whether they're network news or cable news. Cut 4, go.
In response to this plan, we've seen Democrats in states like New York and California say that they would look into redistricting as well. Would you encourage them to do that?
This is Lindsay Davis of ABC. Would you encourage them? She knows the answer. Wouldn't a better question be, didn't you folks already do this? Didn't you folks already do this in New York and California and Illinois and these other states? Who are you to be pointing fingers, talking about the Holocaust and Hitler and dictatorship? But no, because ABC News is made up of Democrats, partisan leftists. Go ahead.
I absolutely do. We are in a fight for the soul of this country.
A fight for the soul of the country. God forbid if she represents the soul of the country, if the Democrat Party does. God forbid. You want to know why this book on power is number one? Because of this. Because people have had enough of people like this. Enough. And you know it's a power grab. You know the language they use is all about deception and a power grab. Same with the media. Same damn thing. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
In the last few weeks, some ICE agents have been ambushed, doxxed, received death threats. All this is on top of dealing with pushback from liberals in sanctuary cities. These ICE agents deserve a lot better. Americans like you across the country support the work they're doing, but they need to hear your voice. The Heritage Foundation has created a survey to gauge America's support of ICE agents, and they need your participation. So please go to heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/LEVIN to give your opinion on ICE's border enforcement and deportation efforts. ICE agents need to hear the message that Americans like you have their backs while they face daily challenges from the liberal media. Patriots like you need to stand with ICE now more than ever. 5 minutes is all it takes, folks. Please complete the survey today at heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/LEVIN to make your voice heard. That's heritage.org/Levin, paid for by the Heritage Foundation. Don't forget our book signing. Today's Wednesday. My God, the book signing's 3 days away. Reston, Virginia, at the Barnes & Noble. I think it's called the Spectrum there, but Spectrum at Reston Town Center. Spectrum at Reston Town Center, Barnes & Noble in Reston, Virginia. We look forward to having so many of you there. We're going to have a wonderful time at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. at the Barnes & Noble. It's brand new Barnes & Noble. It's a beautiful store. I know you're going to love it. So we'll see you there. Here's Beto O'Rourke. He's back. He's back like a bad rash. And he's on CNN today. And they have all their points ready to go. You see that this really is a threat to the republic, like the Democrats give a damn about a republic. Cut 5, go.
If we fail, the consolidation of authoritarian power in America will be nearly unstoppable. That means
it really annoys me that they use my book and the arguments I've been making on this air. In these airwaves for 3 months now, how they twist it. Authoritarian power. These are authoritarian Democrats. Go ahead.
Close federal agents without badges or warrants, sweeping our fellow Americans up off the streets.
You don't need warrants in all instances when you're a federal agent enforcing immigration law. The law says so specifically. What do they mean, sweeping our fellow Americans up off the streets? They have a handful of examples where errors were made. The overwhelming majority who are swept off the streets are illegal aliens. They're not our fellow Americans. Go ahead.
It means more retribution and persecution and even violence for Trump's political opponents.
What does that mean? What is he talking about? He doesn't know what he's talking about. This guy was always adult. Go ahead.
And it also means that a Republican majority Congress, with these 5 stolen seats, if we allow them to succeed, will roll out the royal red carpet for a Trump third term. So
this is what I mean. This chapter in my book on language deals with this kind of stuff. They will never, ever deal in the truth. They don't want to debate over policy. They never want to debate over policy. That's why they fail in this medium, talk radio. It's a 3-hour program. You take calls. They don't want to debate on policy. They don't want to debate on... They sound like these phony influencers, the isolationists. They don't want to debate on policy. And so they're sloganeers. They're repetitive. These are the practices of the totalitarian. That's exactly what they're doing. Go ahead.
This is literally for all the marbles, and it comes down to...
No, it's not for all the marbles, and you don't have any marbles anyway. Listen to this montage. Cut 6, go.
My hope is, and I hear this from everyone everywhere, the Democrats fight back with everything they have. Fight fire with fire.
Only if they move forward to dismantling the protocols that are well established would the state of California move forward in kind, fighting, yes, fire with fire.
Republicans are willing to rewrite these rules to give themselves an advantage, then they're leaving us no choice. We must do the same.
We need to stop him from cheating, from lying, and from stealing the election. And if they're doing something to add their congressional seats, we need to look at our ways of doing that right now.
Just remember, Illinois, New York, Massachusetts, Maryland, California, and the rest. Look at their maps. Look what they've done. Liars. Every damn one of them. Power-hungry, good-for-nothing liars. I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. Thanks for being here, America. Smartest of the smart. I'm getting contacted more and more by wonderful Christian organizations who are very disgusted by what they're hearing from these phony influencers, by what they're seeing in the media, and by the left and the Democrat Party. Here's one. Mario Bromnick, over at JNS, co-founder of the Conference of Christian Presidents for Israel, told JNS, the Jewish news service, that the group is making a task force to, quote, call out the perpetrators of anti-Israel rhetoric and anti-Semitism and hold them accountable. See, this isn't about criticizing Israel. This is about efforts to destroy Israel. He goes on. The pastor Tony Perkins, who is a friend of mine from decades ago, offered a prayer on July 31 in a conference room at the Washington headquarters of the Family Research Council, a fantastic group, where he served as president since 2003, almost 25 years. He said, "We pray for a greater understanding not only of the times in which we live, but more of what we should do about them. I pray that we should leave here with a clearer understanding of the situation, Lord, and also equipped with potential solutions that we can carry forth, Lord, to stand against the rise of anti-Semitism in our day. These are Christians. These are evangelical Christians. A private roundtable followed on confronting anti-Semitism on the political right, co-sponsored by the Family Research Council and the Conference of Christian Presidents for Israel. Mario Bramnick, a co-founder of the conference, told JNS it's creating this task force to counter anti-Semitism on the right, specifically to call out the perpetrators of anti-Israel rhetoric and anti-Semitism and hold accountability. He's the senior pastor at New Hope Ministries and president of Latino Coalition for Israel. At the event, Luke Moon, executive director for the Philos Project and co-founder of the conference, told attendees that in mid-2023, his focus on Jew hatred centered on the neo-Nazi group Goyim Defense League, which is known for trolling and harassing American Jews, spreading anti-Semitism and dropping materials on people's doorsteps. You won't hear any influencer in this country talk about this. And I use that word, it's a pejorative. I use it in a very negative way. It was causing a lot of consternation, a lot of problems, Moon told attendees. We were addressing it and doing what we could. After the Hamas-led terrorist attacks in southern Israel on October 7, 2023, Moon said the whole attention of the world changed focus. He and partners fought against what we saw as this green-red alliance. See, everybody knows this now, and those of you who listen to this program, you heard it first. The Marxists and the Islamists coming together, taking over college campuses. That's something I would hope our conservative and so-called conservative youth groups would start focusing on. But no, they're not going to do that. Moon was heartened by a series of measures that the Trump administration took this year to tackle left-wing and Islamist anti-Semitism. He said, then out from underneath the rocks came the anti-Semitic stuff that we're starting to see from the right, he said. He added that some of the Goyim Defense League's hateful views metastasized within elements on the right. Oh, we're just asking questions. Oh, you're not allowed to criticize Israel. Oh, bullcrap, nobody says that. A lot of that metastasization occurred in the podcasting field. Moon cited podcasters aligned with President Trump. Well, they're not aligned with President Trump on this, I can tell you that firsthand. Including Theo Vaughn, who hosted the formerly pro-Israel Candace Owens, who now regularly spreads anti-Semitic conspiracies in March. He said that same month Joe Rogan hosted Ian Carroll, who also peddles Jew hatred and conspiracies for nearly 3 years. And he said in September, Tucker Carlson interviewed Darryl Cooper, widely denounced for Holocaust revisionism. See, Megan, that's what we're talking about. You get it? You understand, kid? We were losing people faster than we're building, and it seemed that this poisonous tree that had gotten planted somehow on the right had taken root. Moon told attendees its first target, and the group that seems to be most caught up in this, is Gen Z men. Moon thinks that isolation during the COVID pandemic, the impact of the Black Lives Matter movement, and the proliferation of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs are to blame for sowing distrust among young men. He thinks Jew haters with media platforms are taking advantage of that distrust. He's 100% right. And are telling their audiences that Jews and others make accusations of anti-Semitism too much. Oh, gee, didn't I just address that? I think I did. He's right. Podcasters and others with large followings are getting traction by saying outrageous things, he told attendees. There's this incentive now to go harder, to go further, to push that edge. Bramnick told attendees that we're seeing a very troubling development arise during Trump's second administration. Anti-Semitic attacks coming from some MAGA movement elements. I call them fake MAGA. That's what they are. Once again, the President of the United States rejects all of this. Carlson, Owens, former senior Trump advisor Steve Bannon, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, among others, he said, are demanding that groups like AIPAC, Christians United for Israel, which is a fantastic group, comply with the Foreign Agents Registration Act. Bannon has said the Jewish state isn't a U.S. ally. Carlson has said that Americans who served in the Israeli military ought to lose their U.S. citizenship. Bramnick told attendees this is anti-Semitic trope, falsely accusing American Jews with dual loyalty. As Christian leaders, we must call out the forces on the right who demonize the state of Israel and the Jewish people. Bramrick said at the event that Carlson has repeatedly echoed the elements of replacement theology, expressing the view that Christianity is in fact and does supersede Judaism. That view led directly to centuries of Christian anti-Semitism, he said, crusades, inquisitions, pogroms, and the Holocaust. I often teach in church the reward that David was given for slaying Goliath. He gets to fight Goliath's brothers, Bramrick told attendees. So once we have a victory, it's time to get back in the battle and fight. Yehuda Kaplan, Trump's nominee for the U.S. State Department's special envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism, attended, as did the pastor and former Congressman Mark Walker, Trump's pick for the department's ambassador at large for international religious freedom. They're still waiting on confirmation because the Senate Democrats are blocking them. Officials from Jewish and Christian organizations also participated, and Yair Netanyahu, son of the Israeli prime minister, spoke remotely at the off-the-record event. So the Christians are coming under attack. The Christians who support the Holy Land and the State of Israel, they're coming under attack, and they're fighting back. They're fighting back. Yep. Then there's this. I'm sure my friend Megan, I'm sure she'll be on top of this tomorrow. Jews targeted in 69% of religion hate crimes in 2024, 71% since October 2023, per FBI data. Per FBI data. JNS. Of the 2,942 religion-based hate crimes that were reported to the FBI in 2024, 2,041, 69% of the offenses targeted Jews. And you'll notice the more we've had open borders and the more we've had people come in from the Middle East, the more there is targeting of the Jews. I'm sorry, does that pain people? It's true. 2,041. Oh, for Muslims, it was 256. 9%. That means Jews were about 660% more likely than Muslims to be victims of anti-religious bias offenses in the United States last year. This is the FBI. It's not me. It's just Kash Patel and our friend Dan Bongino. And it goes on into graphic detail. Yep. I won't bother you with the rest of it, but it's pretty horrendous. And then there's this from INS. The great-granddaughter of Nazi gas supplier, for the gas chambers, is on a Gaza flotilla. A new flotilla has set sail for Gaza, including Marlene Engelhorn, the great-granddaughter of the Nazi who supplied the deadly Zyklon B gas to concentration camps. Oh, she's a freedom fighter. Oh, yes. She herself received an inheritance worth tens of millions of dollars. And she declared, I am for a free Palestine. And that story goes on. How do you like that? Christians and Jews are never going to be separated. We can't be separated. The existence of one depends on the other. Then there's Tom Cotton, truly fantastic man and senator. Washington Free Beacon. Tom Cotton praises IRS to probe CAIR's tax-exempt status, citing ties to terror organizations. I've been talking about this for years. This man really steps up, this Tom Cotton. Tax-exempt status is a privilege, not a right, and it should not subsidize organizations with links to terrorism, said the Arkansas senator. He's petitioning the IRS to formally investigate the Council on American Islamic Relations for violations of its tax-exempt status, citing ties to terrorist organizations, including Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood. CAIR, one of the nation's foremost anti-Israel advocacy organizations, has long been dogged by accusations that its funding streams are entangled with Hamas. who was named as a co-conspirator in a 2029 federal court case related to terrorism financing, and has since become a leading force in the pro-Hamas campus movement that erupted after Hamas's October 7 terror attacks. I have an idea for these phony influencers. Why don't you just march with the Hamasites? Go ahead. Or the neo-Nazis or the Klansmen. You know that's in your blood. Just do it. Do it. You don't have any guts to do it, do you? Cotton is the chair of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. He says that CAIR's deep ties to terrorist organizations warrant an immediate IRS investigation to see if the group is in compliance with 501c3 of the tax code that governs nonprofits. And he said he wants the federal probe to include a comprehensive review of CAIR's financial records, affiliations, and activities. I'm sure Bannon will agree with this. Not. He's a pig. The government's 2009 investigation revealed CAIR's founders participated in a meeting of Hamas supporters in Philadelphia. You know this if you listen to this program, where they discussed strategies to advance the Islamist agenda in America while concealing their true affiliations, according to the Cotton letter. The founder of CAIR's Texas chapter was later sentenced to 65 years in prison as a result of the case. In November 2023, just a month after Hamas's brutal terror spree, CAIR Executive Director Nihad Awad said he was, quote, happy to see Palestinians in the Gaza Strip breaking the siege and throwing down the shackles of their own land. Oh, yes, that's exactly what they did. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
How many times have you told someone, if it ain't broke, don't fix it? Now, that's great advice for most things, but not so much for a cell phone. See, over time, the battery life fades, the processor can't keep up, and it's fallen in the toilet perhaps one too many times. Fortunately, thanks to Pure Talk, your cell phone is something you can replace without feeling guilty. When you switch to Pure Talk this month, they're going to give you a Samsung Galaxy A36 for free with a $35 qualifying plan. Wow, just $35 a month for talk, text, and data, and a free Samsung phone, the scratch-resistant Gorilla Glass, and a battery that lasts all day. All on America's most dependable 5G network. Look, supporting companies like Pure Talk is a really good thing. You win by cutting your cell phone bill in half. They win by hiring more Americans and helping more veterans. Make the switch in as little as 10 minutes. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin to get your free phone today. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin. Switch to my wireless company, America's wireless company, Pure Talk. You know, one of the youth groups out there that is absolutely fantastic, and I've been invited to speak there. I couldn't make it last time, but I have spoken there. It's a fantastic group, is Young Americans for Freedom. And Young Americans for Freedom, there she is, birthday girl. How are you?
I'm listening to this song.
Yeah, that song's for you, girl. I love you too. Anyway, Young Americans for Freedom is on our college campuses across the country. They don't get the attention of some of the other groups because they don't seek it. They work very hard to advance constitutional, conservative principles. They're pro-American, they're pro-Israel, they're pro-Christian. And so when they show up at these campuses throughout the country, they're under constant attack. Constant attack. Young Americans for Freedom organization holds an event, a national event each year. And here we have in Iowa, a few months ago, members of the Iowa Young Americans for Freedom chapter say they have signs that have been vandalized, online hostility. They get this everywhere, almost everywhere anyway. It's a very, very patriotic organization. And the president is Scott Walker, the former governor of Wisconsin, who's a fantastic guy. He was a fantastic governor, too. They could sure use him there. But I wanted to mention this group. There are fantastic youth groups across the country who are pro-American, who are not weird and bizarre, who support the Judeo-Christian belief system, who support America and support Israel and support other allies. There are Christian groups all over the country, fantastic pastors and priests who speak the truth about what's going on with Marxism and Islamism. They speak in defense of Judaism and Christianity. They're not hard to find. They're everywhere. There are tens and tens of millions of them, tens and tens of millions of us. And I will continue and increase our movement to make sure that from this corner of the country to every corner of the country, that we are wide awake, our eyes are wide open, our ears are wide open, and we push back. I'll be right back. How many times have you told someone, if it ain't broke, don't fix it? Now, that's great advice for most things, but not so much for a cell phone. See, over time, the battery life fades, the processor can't keep up, and it's fallen in the toilet perhaps one too many times. Fortunately, thanks to Pure Talk, your cell phone is something you can replace without feeling guilty. When you switch to Pure Talk this month, they're going to give you a Samsung Galaxy A36 for free with a $35 qualifying plan. Wow, just $35 a month for talk, text, and data, and a free Samsung phone, the scratch-resistant Gorilla Glass, and a battery that lasts all day. All on America's most dependable 5G network. Look, supporting companies like Pure Talk is a really good thing. You win by cutting your cell phone bill in half. They win by hiring more Americans and helping more veterans. Make the switch in as little as 10 minutes. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin to get your free phone today. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin. Switch to my wireless company, America's wireless company, Pure Talk.
Mark Levin, the champion of liberty and true conservatism. Call Mark now, 877-381-3811.
President Trump hails the talks, the progress in the talks, I should say, in Russia with Steve Witkoff and Putin. He's still playing secondary sanctions. He's keeping the heat on Putin. But it's possible that he and Putin and Zelensky might meet next week. Now, you know, folks, you can hear the Democrats, you can hear the media. It's like fingernails on the chalkboard. A lot of you young people don't know what a chalkboard is, probably. But nonetheless, you're watching an iconic president who's making history. He thinks outside the box. This is why he's so successful. He was as a businessman, and he is as a president. He is using our massive economic might like no president in history. Not only to rebuild America's industries, not only to bring businesses back to the United States, and to allow us to do business in some of the most closed economies on the face of the earth, and to strengthen us in terms of competition with communist China in the EU. He's using our strength to affect foreign policy. Now, Reagan did that with respect to the Soviet Union, and it collapsed the Soviet Union. I think Donald Trump learned a hell of a lot from that. He has Reagan's official portrait over his left shoulder in the Oval Office. He could have put any president he wanted. That's who he put. I have a poster in my Florida bunker behind where I sit and do this radio program. A poster where a young Donald Trump is shaking the hand of President Ronald Reagan. Now, I saw that poster when I interviewed President Trump in September of last year before the election at Mar-a-Lago. And he had several posters there, different types of posters that they frame and put on the walls, and they move them and put others on there. It's very beautiful, actually. And the president says, "What do you want, Mark? Anything you want. I'll give you anything you want." I said, "I don't want anything." And then I said, "Wait a minute. I'll take that poster right there because I worked for Ronald Reagan. You're a good friend. He was a friend, too, a good friend, and I would love to have that on my wall." And he signs it to the Great One. and I framed it and put it on the wall behind me in the Florida bunker where I broadcast from. It's really fantastic what this man has done and what this man is doing. And he is so down to earth. And you can get it. You can see it when he talks to the media and other people. He talks like we do. He has a whole set of emotions, moods. And what I try to convey to you from a personal perspective is the guy's a sweetheart. He's funny. He's gracious. There are people who call him all the time, who bother him. I'm not one of them. I'm not one of them. But there are times when we are with him. My problem is I'm so busy all the time, I can't take a lot of time off. But there are times when we are with him. And I remember this one time. I remember all of them, but I remember this one in particular. There was a buffet at his club in Florida, and he does everything top shelf. Top shelf. The rooms are beautiful, exquisite. The food is exquisite. It's beautiful. The whole thing is beautifully done. So he says, follow me, Mark, to the buffet. Did I tell you this, Mr. Producer? I have? So I go, and he says, look, is this not the best shrimp in the world? They're huge. They're beautiful. So what does he do? So I take like 3 of them, and he takes the ladle and he puts the cocktail sauce in my plate. Then he says, look at this brisket here. I think that's what it was. Now he knows I like it well done like him. He says, look, these 2 pieces, you're going to love these. This is what I mean. Just fantastic. And everybody who knows him knows what I'm talking about. He treats everybody the same way. And he has a huge heart, this man. Huge. These hostages in Israel upset him to no end. He saw that video. The emaciated man, young man, a guitar player, man of peace, digging his own grave, and they said that tears were coming to his eyes. He was very upset. When he talks to these parents whose children have been brutalized by illegal aliens, MS-13, Venezuelan gangs, and so forth, they'll tell you the same thing. He gets very upset. He's a very compassionate man. This is a unique man. He doesn't have to do anything about Russia and Ukraine, but he wants to do it. He hears about all these people dying, and he's driven to do something. Even though others, the anti-Semite isolationists, the Marxist Islamists, don't give a damn. He does. And because he tries to bring peace in these areas, they call him a warmonger, and he's going back on his promises and so. These are stupid, stupid people that have memorized about 3 sentences, and that's all they regurgitate all the time. And if you look into these people, they really are defective in so many respects. These Democrats who get on TV, these politicians, and they scream about the Holocaust and Hitler, when Donald Trump has done more to prevent another Holocaust and another Hitler than anybody. While the Democrat Party backs the modern Nazis, he fights them. He even fights the phony MAGA, the fake MAGA, who back them too. But you're really watching history here, ladies and gentlemen. And when this man leaves, we're all going to regret it deeply. We're going to regret it deeply. He was asked the other day who he thinks would be the nominee in 2028 carrying carrying his message. He indicated Vance is the VP, so that's normally what happens, but Rubio's a good guy. Maybe they'll team up. My view is I want to see the whole field. That'll be a very, very big pair of shoes to stand in. As far as I'm concerned, nobody inherits that position. Nobody. Not a vice president, not a secretary of state, nobody. And I will say this to our friend Secretary Rubio and others who want to be the Republican nominee. If you don't come here and talk to the millions of people in this audience, there is no way that I or they can support you. There's simply no way. There's simply no way, and I won't. There's nothing to hide here. There's no reason to duck me. Don't be afraid of me. Best as I can tell, Mr. Producer, I'm very friendly to and kind to my guests, aren't I? Now, if we had a Sanders on here and so forth, I'd be Mr. Prosecutor, but we can't get them on. We can't get them. So you and I, we will make these decisions for ourselves, and we will use the clout that we have, the power that you have, to get behind the candidate or candidates that we feel best represent our views. But if they won't express their views here, then I don't know how we do that. We don't. If you can go on CNN and go on these others, these Sunday shows and so forth, there's no reason to avoid this show. Well, I guess there is. If you're not a real conservative, you want to avoid the show. And so our door's open. We people contact us all the time. But let me just finish. What Donald Trump is doing in foreign policy is extraordinary. What Donald Trump has done with the border is unparalleled. What Donald Trump is doing to the economy, and all of the benefit will be felt sooner than later, is remarkable. That's why they want to take him out. If he was an average president or a placeholder, they wouldn't care. And he knows how to take on the Marxists and the Islamists. And that's what drives them nuts. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
How many times have you told someone, if it ain't broke, don't fix it? Now, that's great advice for most things, but not so much for a cell phone. See, over time, the battery life fades, the processor can't keep up, and it's fallen in the toilet perhaps one too many times. Fortunately, thanks to Pure Talk, your cell phone is something you can replace without feeling guilty. When you switch to Pure Talk this month, they're going to give you a Samsung Galaxy A36 for free with a $35 qualifying plan. Wow, just $35 a month for talk, text, and data, and a free Samsung phone, the scratch-resistant Gorilla Glass, and a battery that lasts all day. All on America's most dependable 5G network. Look, supporting companies like Pure Talk is a really good thing. You win by cutting your cell phone bill in half. They win by hiring more Americans and helping more veterans. Make the switch in as little as 10 minutes. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin to get your free phone today. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin. Switch to my wireless company, America's wireless company, Pure Talk. Okay, some people have asked. Now I will tell you, the hardcover nonfiction New York Times list at the top, On Power, by Threshold Editions, a division of Simon & Schuster, and I have to say Simon & Schuster has been outstanding. The second book, The Idaho 4, by Patterson and Ward of Little Brown, that's the publisher, about the murders in Idaho. The third one, it's been on there 71 weeks, so somebody's got to be reading it. The Anxious Generation, Mr. Producer. Are you part of the Anxious Generation? No. Number 4, Everything is Tuberculosis. I must confess, I never heard of that. Number 5, Gwyneth. Well, we know who that is. Paltrow. Number 6, abundance. Some of these books have been on this list for 2 years. Can you imagine that, Mr. Producer? Number 7, outlive. Number 8, vaccines. New this week. Number 9, Black AF history. I'm not sure what that means. Oh, African maybe? Oh, really? I can't say that. Number 10, being Jewish after the destruction of Gaza. Peter Beinart. He's an a-hole. Forget it. Number 11, The Serviceberry. I don't even understand what these books mean. Number 12, Mark Twain by Ron Chernow. He's a good writer. And that's a hell of a book. It's a big book, too. I mean, you better put aside 2 summers to read it. Number 13, One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This. Again, I have no idea. Oh. El Akkad looks at how the West responds to mass suffering. Yeah, great. Number 14, Big Dumb Eyes by a comedian, Nate Bargatze. Number 15, A Marriage at Sea. 1972, an incident with a breaching whale turns a couple's dreams of sailing on a boat into a months-long struggle for survival on a raft. I don't know. Not a lot of that appeals to me. I'm not trying to be offensive in any way. I really am not. That's not my desire. But I want to thank you folks. I'll go ahead and send this because people have asked me about what books are on this list. I'll go ahead and send this link to Mr. Producer and have him put it up on our social sites. For those who care, which is not many, but it's enough. I'm just thankful for you folks and thankful that this book is getting into the bloodstream. It's very, very important. All right, don't forget, you can always listen to this program. If you don't have the third hour, if we're preempted, you go to your favorite podcast platform and you type in Mark Levin Show. Search for that and you'll find us, or go to YouTube. We have our own YouTube channel, and again, search Mark Levin Show. We are there. I got a ton more. We'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. A lot of stuff I've been meaning to get to. Now, Morgan, J.P. Morgan, and Bank of America, this is really quite bad. They debanked President Trump under pressure from the Biden regime, asserting the January 6th events. Charles Gasparino writing, he's a good journalist. He's a good business journalist. Shoots right down the middle. J.P. Morgan and Bank of America, many of you may have these banks, debanked President Trump for his role in the January 6th Capitol Hill melee following pressure from the Biden regime. Their banking regulators and the Federal Reserve, people with direct knowledge of the matter, tell the Post. This is outrageous, absolutely outrageous. The Democrats won't say this is the end of democracy because they believe everything they do is so self-righteous, outrageous. But sources at the bank, the largest and second largest in the U.S. in terms of assets, confirm the case stemmed from the controversy surrounding Trump's actions that day and threats from Joe Biden, his bank regulators, that banking the former president's money put them in danger of falling afoul of the rules that prohibit financial institutions from doing business with individuals and companies that present a reputational risk. There was no part of the federal government that wasn't used to try and damage Trump and his family. None. People at the banks tell the Post that Biden's banking cops at the office of the controller of the currency, for God's sakes, the FDIC and the Federal Reserve often use the nebulous nature of this edict to go beyond debanking money launderers and drug kingpins. They were pressured to include people who have heterodox political and business ties that often included conservatives and anyone who participated in the January 6th protest. You know, folks, Franklin Roosevelt did this to his opponents. Trying to remember, I think it's an unfreedom of the press, and he's not the only one. He sicked the Internal Revenue Service against them. He sicked the FBI against them. And not just his Republican opponents, but his Democrat opponents. He unleashed the IRS and the Treasury Department against Andrew Mellon, a self-made billionaire who was the treasurer to the Coolidge administration. And a damn good one at that. A damn good one. And they unleashed an investigation of him. And the commissioner of the IRS was reporting directly to Morgenthau, his boss at the Treasury Department, and to the president, Franklin Roosevelt. Morgenthau told FDR that the commissioner can't find anything on Mellon, on Andrew Mellon. The guy's as clean as they come. You know what Franklin Roosevelt did? If you read that book, you do. He told him, go back and find something, anything. Sound like Barack Obama going after Donald Trump? I mean, the fact is that these Democrats do these things. And so they came up with phony tax issues, so phony that a judge involved in the case essentially told the government these are phony. But they refused to relent. They chased him down for 10 years. And finally, he paid some ransom, effectively, some outrageous sum. He had to plead guilty to some kind of tax fraud of some kind, and I don't mean as a criminal trial matter, but just had to accept it. And in fact, Morgenthau would state later that FDR wanted him in prison. Wanted him in prison. But he wasn't the only one that FDR targeted. He targeted the owner of the Philadelphia Inquirer, Annenberg. His name was Mo Annenberg. Because back then, Philadelphia was, believe it or not, a Republican city, and this was a Republican-supporting newspaper. And so we unleashed the IRS against Annenberg and the Philadelphia Inquirer. What do you think of that? Liberals, Democrats. Forcing him to pay an enormous sum of money. He may even gone to prison for a short period of time. And then he changed his editorial content to some extent to be much more supportive of the New Deal. See how that works? FDR would use the IRS. FDR would use the FBI. You know who else used the IRS? John Kennedy. Ben Bradley. Ben Bradley received information leaked from the Internal Revenue Service through the president, then John Kennedy, about John Paul Getty, who basically supported Republicans, about conservative groups. Bradley at that point worked for Newsweek, not the Washington Post. Oh, yeah. So this stuff going after Trump is unbelievable, and we need to get to the bottom of this. This is not a diversion. This is a core issue of republicanism, of how a government should not function. Lyndon Johnson made John Kennedy look like a choir boy. He used the IRS, the FBI, and the CIA. Now, you notice Richard Nixon had to resign because he tried to cover up what some of his people were doing in Watergate. But what Richard Nixon did doesn't even come close to what FDR did or John Kennedy did or Lyndon Johnson did. And the Democrats knew it. Ben Bradley knew it, being as tight as he was to John Kennedy. They all knew it, but it didn't matter. Because Nixon didn't have many friends in Washington, so it didn't matter. The way they've treated Donald Trump, they're back, the crooks, the criminals, in the Democrat Party, in the media. They've gotten away with this before. Again, this is why Trump is so historic and iconic. He has fought against them and got elected twice to their great disbelief. Now, in the weeks and months ahead, I'm going to be talking about this midterm election, how crucial it is that we really get poised for this thing. Because if we lose the midterm election, we're going to lose every piece of this momentum that's going on right now. We will be bogged down in subpoenas and investigations. These people are evil. They don't care what and who they destroy, including the country. So we are going to be focused. This is what we do here on all the platforms. And as a prelude to this, this is why this book on power, to me, is so important. So we are ready. So we know how to confront this. So we know how to talk about this. About the good kind of power and their kind of power. Again, I call these people authoritarian Democrats because they don't really believe in democracy or republicanism or constitutionalism. And I think it's so crucially important that as many people as possible read this. Look, if you want to buy one copy and share it with 10 people, that's fine by me. I mean, I know people who buy the audio and then they'll play it over the weekend for 10 or 12 people. That's fine by me, too. Go for it. But we need to make the case. People need to be confident in how to make the case. We're going to have to persuade our fellow citizens about what's going on here. This is why they're so furious about Texas and gerrymandering. They've gerrymandered the hell out of this country. Somehow there was a mathematical mistake, quote unquote, with the Census Bureau, so they got 5 more seats. They'll do whatever they can, and they have done everything they can. And so finally, you have the governor of Texas, this guy's fantastic, Abbott, who's pushing back. And you know what? Governor DeSantis has taken another look, I think I heard or read somewhere, at the congressional districts in Florida. So if California wants to play more games, they don't have a lot of room. New York wants to play more games, they don't have a lot of room. Illinois has no room left. I mean, Massachusetts has no Republicans in the House, so they have no room. Maryland has 1 Republican in the House. They have no room, but Florida has room. Texas has room, and some of the other Republican states have room to gerrymander in a way where they would basically act like Democrats. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
It's interesting, the list did not show up on Christian's email here, Mr. Producer. Let's see something. Want to try again? Okay, I'm looking for the call list, America. Let's see if we can find it, because it seems to have disappeared. And I want to talk to you folks. Let's try this one. All right, let's try this. Let's see if this one works. Laura, Fairfax Station, Virginia, WMAL. How are you, ma'am?
Good, thank you. Thanks, Mark, for taking my call.
Thank you.
My brother lives in Reston Town Center, so we were really looking forward to going to your book signing. Unfortunately, there was a death in the family, so we'll be out of town. But
I'm sorry.
But no problem. But I'm calling really because when we were looking into going to the book signing, the Barnes & Noble site says you need an advance ticket to even get in line. So I didn't know if I didn't hear that mentioned on your show, so I didn't want. I want to see if just make people aware because
no, people can show up and get a ticket. That's what they mean.
Oh,
what they're trying to do is organize it in a way where the line isn't massive and people can come at different times, so they know what they're doing.
Oh, okay, all right. I didn't hear it mentioned, so I thought, we need a ticket.
Well, that's why, because it really doesn't matter.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So you can order a ticket online or you can go there and get a ticket. Either way.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
All right. I'm sorry about the death in your family, ma'am. You take care of yourself. Jenny, Chicago, Illinois, the great WLS. How are you?
Great. Hi, Mark.
Hello.
I wanted to share. You started the show mentioning how often the Democrats and the leftists mention Nazi this, Nazi that, calling conservative Nazis the president Nazis. And I wanted to mention to you that my husband's a veteran. He receives his care at a VA hospital in the area. And there was in the waiting room, the Waltons happened to be on. And John Boy, who's a character in the show, was in his university class. And he happened to mention something in his university class about Nazis and questioning the Nazis. And I had just reacted, it just came out of me like, oh, Nazis, Nazis, Nazis. That's all we hear about all day long. And
well, here's the thing. I don't mind talking about the Nazis if we're actually talking about the Nazis. What I mind is when people use that word or the Holocaust or Hitler to character assassinate like Donald Trump or We the People. That's my problem. If people want to learn about it, that's fine. Go ahead. But my problem is they dumb it down. They really do a horrible sin on the people who died during the Holocaust at the hands of the Nazis and Hitler. When they talk about they don't like this gerrymandering, so it's the Holocaust. It's just sick.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. An employee came out and gave me the remote for the TV and said I could turn on whatever I wanted. So
So you turned on Fox. That drove them nuts.
Yes. I want to congratulate you on the success of your new book on power. That's wonderful. And I wanted to mention to you in Chicago, unfortunately, the Democrats have their own version of book banning. I know the Republicans are accused a lot of book banning, but the Democrats have their own sneaky version where the library just won't even acquire the book. Not only your book, but Dan Bongino's book, Jeanine Pirro's book, Kayleigh McNamara's book, Tom Cotton's book. There's so many conservatives that I can't even get the book from the library. So that's the Democrats' version of books.
Well, you're right. My books are rarely in libraries. I mean, sometimes, but rarely. Yeah.
Your American Marxism book was prominently displayed in our downtown library because it was categorized with all the other Marxist books.
So they didn't realize what was coming. They didn't realize it, probably.
Exactly. So your book stands out like a bright beacon on that shelf. Thank you so much, Mark.
All right. You sound like a lovely lady. Thank you very much, Jenny. Let's keep going. Colleen, New Mexico. XM Satellite. Colleen, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. But I'm going to be kind of windy on this. Because religious suicide and homicide are psychological sicknesses that are classified as warfares. And what the Muslim people need to do is rewrite the Quran for America and not...
Well, that's not going to happen. People don't rewrite the Quran or the Bible or the Torah or anything of the sort. So appreciate your call, but that's not going to happen. Look, the problem are the Islamist terrorists. You know, when I go into a bank, the assistant manager at my bank is Muslim. He's from Pakistan, and he's a fantastic individual. When I have some of the Uber drivers that I talk to, some of them are Muslim. They are fantastic individuals. We have our friend Zuhdi Jasser and others on the program. Muslim, they are fantastic individuals. So I think the problem is you have this extremist element, this Islamist element, and they're slaughtering other Muslims, as well as Jews and Christians or anybody else who they think is in the way. And so that's my focus. That's where my head is. And I think it's the right focus, because these people are killers. They have a bloodlust. And so are the Marxists, by the way. They do too. That's why I think they work together. You know, we have at the Alligator Alcatraz, we have illegal aliens are chanting freedom in Spanish. According to Anna Ishmanani, or whatever, Florida State Representative Democrat, of course. Cut 7, go.
And then we were able to gaze into one of the full tents for about 30 seconds. And this was 8 cages with 32 men per cage in one tent, 3 toilets per cage, and they're very tight. And of course, when they opened the doors, we were met with security that wouldn't let us pass them. But all the men started chanting freedom
ladies
in
and
Spanish.
Gentlemen, you know what annoys me about this moron? If there were any inhumane conditions, some judge would deal with it. She didn't mention how big the cages are. And I could go on and on and on. I'm so sick and tired of these liberal Democrats who just bend over backwards to try and accommodate the people they brought in here illegally because they view them as future constituents. It's outrageous. I'll be right back.
The establishment's worst nightmare. Mark Levin. Call in now. 877-381-3811.
I can tell you I went to Alligator Alcatraz 2 days ago, and I'm sick and tired of false stories about Alligator Alcatraz. Someone asked me the other day that the priest wasn't allowed in to get masked. Wrong. They got the records there. They showed me records. Clergy had been allowed on there. And I walked through the medical facility there. Not one person was in the trauma unit at all. I talked to the head medical person. Shared with me, what they're getting is some people don't, stomach ache or nothing serious has happened there. And if something serious is happening, they got a helicopter right there to take people to the nearest trauma center. So what I saw was a well-run facility. And the reason I went down there is because I get asked these questions all the time about the terrible, terrible Alligator Alcatraz. I went down there, and what I found out is there's a lot of fake stories out there about medical attention, about religious freedom and having clergy there. I went down there. I looked at it. I looked at the books. So it's simply a false story.
See how they lie? See how they lie? Speaking of liars, Zoran Mandami on Sunday, cut 10, go.
This is a dark moment to be a stranger in our city, to be a stranger in our country. An authoritarian government in Washington, D.C. is dispatching masked agents to abduct immigrants from our streets. That is not justice. It is cruelty.
This guy's
and it
such an a-hole. I mean, seriously. So you have illegal aliens, masked agents. These guys are masked because there's enormous money behind these radical left-wing front groups, these ethnic front groups, trying to intimidate and threaten these ICE agents so they wear masks to protect themselves and their families. Abducting people off the street. They're removing them. Half of them have overstayed their visas. Did you know that? Over 50% of them have overstayed their visas. They were supposed to leave and they wouldn't leave. You got another big percentage who already have removal orders who won't leave. And this dumbass won't even mention any of that. He says this isn't just. It's cruelty and it's criminal to enforce the immigration laws. And this is what you're going to get in New York. You're going to have criminal illegal aliens. I mean, criminal beyond the fact that they're illegal, roaming your streets. The cops aren't going to be able to do anything if there's any cops left. Your taxes are going to go through the roof so you can pay to redistribute wealth and pay for illegal aliens and welfare for other people. That's what the hardworking New Yorkers are going to have to face. If you don't organize and fight this and prevent this guy from becoming mayor. He's unhinged. He's a head case. Listen to Kristi Noem on Fox and Friends today dealing with this Mamdani. And let me tell you something. She's very good. I don't know her. I mean, I've interviewed her, but she's very smart. Cut 11, go.
I can't even imagine how the people of New York City feel listening to that, knowing that if he were elected as mayor of New York, that they would have to continue to live with the dangerous criminals that are on their streets terrorizing that city right now. We've done so much work there as ICE officers and federal law enforcement officers getting dangerous criminals off the streets of New York. Literally hundreds and hundreds of them have been removed already in New York City because of President Trump's leadership. We need to continue to do that work, and we need a mayor that will work with us and have our backs when we're out there making sure we're going after those individuals. So if he were elected, New York City would be a train wreck, and those poor families would have nowhere to go for help.
No question about it. Now, this Elisa Slotnick, who I mentioned in the first hour, is proving herself truly to be a self-hating Jew. She goes out of her way. She opposes support for Israel, one of 28 Democrats or so, more than half, who voted to cut off all support for Israel. She's Jewish. She ran as a moderate, but she's decided to throw in with the Islamists and the Marxists. And she does it again. She's on MSNBC yesterday, and she calls Mamdani a new generation of leadership. Yeah, a new generation of leadership. Old generation of leadership for communist regimes, but new for us. Cut 12, go.
Yeah, I've said very openly that I never would be called an expert on New York City politics.
Actually, you'd never be called an expert on anything. You're a moron. These people lie to get elected. They just lie through their teeth. And there she is. She's moved hard left. Go ahead.
Messages were like a blinking red light. How can you miss them? People are still extremely focused on the cost of living and how they can't get ahead. Still the
So let's
motivation.
vote for a Marxist Islamist Jew hater, huh? That'll fix everything. That'll make it affordable, huh? Now, to be honest, New York City was never quote-unquote affordable. It's always been a very expensive city. That's why many of the people who work there don't necessarily live there. You know what you do when a city's expensive? You move. That's what you do. Because they typically are one-party cities, Democrats. And Democrats do what? Every damn one of them. They raise taxes. They impose regulations. They kill you on zoning. They put in things in place that are intended to help welfare recipients, illegal aliens, so the middle class have a hell of a time. A hell of a time dealing with it, regardless of your race. But they have an idea. Let's elect a Marxist Islamist Jew hater. That'll fix it. So says this self-hating Jew. It's a new generation, America. Everybody's focused on the cost of living. Therefore, let's embrace economic socialism. We know that'll work. Go ahead.
And then number two, they want that new generation of leadership.
New generation of leadership. Wow. Well, that must be it. A young Marxist, not an old Marxist. It's a new generation of leadership. There she is, the so-called moderate. It's like this clown running for governor in Virginia, Stamberg or something like that. She's another one that has either CIA or military background, and then it's assumed that she's a moderate. She was quite left-wing as a congressperson, and she will be quite left-wing as a governor. She's a phony, a fraud, and a fake. Meanwhile, with a black woman running for governor, she would be the first black woman ever elected as governor of Virginia, ever. But because she's not a left-wing Democrat, the left-wing Democrats don't say, let's vote for the first black woman to be governor. In fact, they attack her viciously. And she's a great lady. Winsome Sears is her name. Fantastic lady. Patriot. Smart. Can't have that. No, we're gonna elect a white liberal who pretends to be a moderate. Then when she becomes governor, God forbid, she'll kill the state like all liberals do. Now, Paul Begala has a warning. Now, this guy's a punk, don't get me wrong. He's a punk. Rush called him Farhead because, well, it's Farhead. But there's a warning out there, and I'm playing this for you because it's a warning that might turn out to be correct if we're not careful. If we're not careful. It's not a prediction. It's a warning. He's on the Constipated News Network. Cut 13, go.
Remember last week there was a terrible earthquake off the coast of Russia? And then it took a long, long time before tsunami waves hit. Fortunately, I don't think anybody was hurt. This is an earthquake. This is coming. The Republicans are looking at a wave election against them. This is what happened the last time. 2017, they cut taxes for the rich and just tried to cut Obamacare, to end Obamacare, and they failed. They lost 41 House seats in the next election. This combination, this bill, where they cut taxes for the rich, exploded the debt.
Okay, shut up, Squirt. Shut up, Squirt. One of the biggest liars ever, which, of course, is why he's on the Constipated News Network. Tax cuts for billionaires explodes the debt. Isn't it amazing that the Marxists all of a sudden are concerned about the debt? Now, when Joe Biden, or whomever it was, massively increased spending by multiple trillions of dollars, calling it the Inflation Reduction Act, by putting all that paper into the economy and creating inflation, which was really for climate change, which in turn was really for lining the pockets of left-wing businessmen and left-wing think tanks and left-wing front groups. So much money they didn't know what to do with it. Now they're worried about the debt. They didn't have a growth agenda, an economic growth agenda like Reagan did, or like Trump does with his bill. It's an economic growth package. That's what it is. But I would ask the Democrats, what do you want them to cut? What do you want them to cut? Tell us. What programs do you want Donald Trump to cut? When this was going on several months ago, and I had the Speaker of the House on, Mike Johnson, and I asked, have the Democrats proposed any budget to you? He said, not one. So what do you want to cut? Tell us. You want to cut, you talk about $4 trillion, $4.5 trillion, okay. What do you want to cut? You say not Social Security, not Medicare, only discretionary spending. Okay, you know what that is? You're down to 20% of the budget. All the rest of it's off the table. So of that 20%, what do you want to cut? Food stamps? Head Start? Just tell us. What do you want to cut? Why do the Republicans always have to come up with the cuts? Why don't the Democrats come up with the cuts? Give us a list of $4.5 trillion in cuts. They won't. Because when Elon Musk and Doge were trying to cut spending in the federal government significantly, guess who tried to block them and attack them? That's right, the Democrats. So it's either cut or don't cut, and they're for both. Cut, but don't cut. Oh, okay. That's workable. Cut, but don't cut. But whatever you do, raise taxes. And if you cut taxes, say they're for the billionaires. I don't know, how many billionaires wait tables? How many billionaires wash cars and wash windows? I'm just curious. It's capped at $25,000 in tips. If you're a billionaire by definition, you know what that is? That's not even chump change. That's not even mustard money. It's nothing. So what are they talking about? Exactly which tax cut was identified for billionaires? None. I've asked this for months. How come a reporter doesn't ask one of these nitwits, which tax cut are you talking about? The across-the-board tax cuts? That's not tax cuts for billionaires. But hey, what do I know? By the way, Stephen A. Smith asked me to go on his program. I think it's Monday, Mr. Producer. Yeah, I said, okay. It'll be fun. As long as he doesn't ask me too much about, sports. I know enough to get by. I know what teams I like. But, man, I can't wait to get into the other stuff. That's what he wants to do. And, Stephen A., check out my book so we can talk about that a little bit, too, as you well know. I shall return.
Mark Levin.
Let's slip in a few quotes. Don't forget, grab your copy of the #1 New York Times bestseller. I say that because it drives them nuts. The #1 New York Times bestseller, On Power. Oh, yes. And don't forget about our book signing Saturday at 10 a.m. We'd love to see as many of you as would like to come visit. We spend a little time, say hello, and sign your books there. It's at a brand new Barnes & Noble in Reston, Virginia, at the Spectrum at Reston. So check it out. Again, Reston, Virginia, 10 a.m. this Saturday. We'd love to see you. Let's take a call. Ken, Waterbury, Connecticut, XM Satellite. Ken, how are you, sir?
Sir, God bless. How are you, sir?
I'm good, and you too. Thank you.
Hey, Mark, really quick, and I know you're short on time, so I'll be as fast as I possibly can. I've been a cop for 26 years in Connecticut, and majority of my family is military, fire, and police. A big chunk of my family is New York PD, primarily Queens, Brooklyn, and some in Manhattan. And this is not a joke. New York voters need to really wake up because they are all telling me, and they got time on the job, a good chunk of it. If this communist gets elected, they are already looking to transfer to Florida and Tennessee, and they're going. And the cadets that they've been hiring, they've been telling me, like, God, you don't understand. They are not qualified, but they just need to fill the boots because they are over. Don't listen. They're over 1,000 short in NYPD. Over 1,000 short.
Terrible.
These guys are getting burned out, and so they better wake the hell up because bad. Better be careful on how you vote for. Don't feel the spring in your step because I'll tell you right now. Once they fail, just like California, don't be begging for my federal tax dollars to bail you out. I'm tired of my federal tax dollars bailing out these liberal cities because they failed. No, that's not. My tax dollars are made for our military and other type of organizations. And really quick, I wish I had a chance to go to Virginia to go meet you and get a book signing, but I'm working actually a double that day. And I'll be honest with you, Mark, I'm not gonna lie to you. The odds of me traveling down there would be slim to none, but I would have loved to have a book.
Well, Ken, let me
you.
say this. Thank you for 26 years. That is wonderful. We have a lot of cops in our family, and I've had a lot of them who have passed, given their age and so forth. But don't hang up, Mr. Producer. Let's get Ken's full name and his address. Let's get him a signed book. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you. Thank you for being here. Let's do it again tomorrow. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers, our brothers and sisters in Ukraine and Israel, and you, the American people. God bless each and every one of you. Grab your copy of On Power. You're going to love it. I'll see you tomorrow.